Daily 15 minutes.
My name is David. I'm a writer. I write books for children. I like quiet places and I like old stories. Last month, I went to a small village in the mountains. I stayed there for 2 weeks. It was a beautiful holiday. I walked in the forest, breathed the fresh air and wrote many pages in my notebook. But it was time to go home. I lived in a big city and I had an important meeting on Friday morning. On Thursday night, I packed my big blue suitcase. I checked my wallet, my passport and my phone. Everything was ready. I left my small mountain cabin at 10 o'clock in the evening. The night was very cold. The wind blew through the tall trees. The sky was clear and the moon was big and bright. I walked to the village train station. It was a very small station. There were no modern shops or bright lights. There was only one old wooden bench and a small office. I walked inside the office. An old man sat behind the desk. He wore a dark blue uniform. He looked very tired. "Good evening," I said. "I need a ticket to the central station in the city." The old man did not look up immediately. He stamped a piece of paper slowly. Then he looked at me over his small glasses. His eyes were serious. "The regular train left 2 hours ago, young man," he said. I felt a panic in my chest. "Oh, no," I said. "Are you sure? I have a very important meeting tomorrow morning. Is there another train tonight?" The old man looked at the big clock on the wall. It was 11 o'clock. He sighed and leaned forward. "There is one more train," he whispered. "It arrives at midnight. We call it the midnight train. But regular people do not like it. It is very old, and it takes a strange route through the deep, dark valley." "Does it go to the city?" I asked. "Yes," the old man said. "It goes to the city, but it does not stop at the usual stations." "That's fine," I said quickly. "I just need to go home. Please give me a ticket." The old man opened a small wooden drawer. He pulled out a ticket. It was not a paper ticket. It was a small piece of thick purple cardboard. It had gold letters on it, "The Midnight Train, Seat 7. I paid the old man. He gave me the purple ticket. "Be careful, David," he said. I looked at him with surprise. "How do you know my name?" I asked. But the old man closed his window and turned off the office light. The room became dark. I walked out to the platform. I sat on the wooden bench. I waited. The wind became stronger. It made a scary sound. Whoosh! Whoosh! I opened my book and tried to read under the dim yellow light of the station lamp, but I could not focus. I looked at my watch every 5 minutes. 11:45, 11:50, 11:55. Exactly at midnight, I heard a loud sound in the distance. Choo-choo. The tracks started to shake. A heavy black steam train came out of the dark forest. It was huge. Thick grey smoke rose from the top. The train looked like it belonged to the year 1920. It stopped slowly in front of me. The brakes made a loud screaming sound. Screech! A door opened. Nobody came out. I stood up, took my blue suitcase, and climbed the high metal steps into the train. Inside, the train was warm and beautiful. The floor had a soft red carpet. The walls were made of dark wood. There were green lamps on the ceiling. They gave a soft, warm light. But it was very quiet. I walked down the narrow corridor. I looked into the compartments. They were all empty. I searched for my seat. Seat 4, Seat 5, Seat 6, Seat 7. Ah, here it was. I opened the door of the compartment. There was a man inside. He sat near the window. He was a very old man with white hair and a long white beard. He wore a beautiful grey suit and a black hat. He looked like a gentleman from an old movie. "Good evening," I said politely. The old man looked at me and smiled warmly. "Good evening, traveller. Please sit down." I put my suitcase in the corner and sat on the soft green seat across from him. The train started to move. Clack, 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 clack. It moved slowly at first, then it became faster. The village station disappeared into the night. I looked out the window. I could only see dark trees and black mountains. "Are you going to the city?" I asked the old man. "Yes," he replied. "We are all going to the end of the line." "My name is David," I said, and held out my hand. "You can call me Arthur," the old man said. He shook my hand. His hand was very cold, like ice. Arthur was a friendly man. We talked for an hour. He told me about his life. He said he was a teacher many years ago. He loved history. I told him about my children's books. He listened with great interest. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, the train slowed down. It stopped at a dark platform. There were no lights on this station. I looked out the window, but I could not see a name on the wall. Arthur stood up. He adjusted his black hat. "This is my station," he said. "I must leave now." "It is very dark out there, Arthur," I said. "Do you live here?" "My home is nearby," he smiled. He took a small wooden box from his pocket. The box was brown, and it had a silver lock. He put the box on the seat next to me. "David, I am an old man and my hands are tired. Can you keep this box for a moment? Do not open it until the train passes the river. Promise me." "I promise," I said. "Thank you," Arthur said. He opened the compartment door, walked down the corridor and stepped off the train. The train immediately started to move again. It gained speed quickly. Clack, 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 clack. I sat alone in the compartment. I looked at the small brown wooden box on the seat. It looked very mysterious. Why did Arthur leave it? Who was waiting for him in that dark, nameless station? Suddenly I felt a cold draught in the room. The green lamp on the ceiling flickered. Blink, blink. Then it turned off. The room was dark for 3 seconds. When the light came back on, everything felt different. I looked out the window. The train was on a huge metal bridge. Below the bridge there was a wide, fast river. The water reflected the bright moonlight. "We are passing the river," I whispered to myself. I picked up the wooden box. It was heavy for its size. I tried to open the silver lock. It was tight, but I pressed a small button on the side. Click. The lock opened. Inside the box, there was no gold or money. There were only 2 things, an old silver pocket watch and a folded piece of yellow paper. I took the silver watch first. The hands of the watch were not moving. They were stuck at exactly 12 o'clock midnight. Then I unfolded the yellow paper. It was a letter. The handwriting was neat and elegant. I began to read the letter slowly. "Dear David, if you are reading this, I am already home. Welcome to the midnight train. This train does not belong to the living world. It travels through time and memory. 60 years ago, on this exact date, this train crashed into the Valley River. Nobody survived. Every year on June 17th, the train makes its journey again. We look for a special traveler to help us. Look at your purple ticket." My heart stopped beating for a second. My breath became shallow. My hands shook violently. June 17th? That was today's date. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the thick purple cardboard ticket. I turned it over. On the back of the ticket there was a message printed in small gold letters. "The midnight train, Ghost Express. Passenger David. Destination, the bottom of the river." I jumped up from my seat. I dropped the box and the letter. "No, no, no, this is a dream, this is a joke," I shouted. I ran out of the compartment into the narrow corridor. The train was moving incredibly fast now. The wind roared outside the windows. Whoosh! I ran to the next compartment. I pushed the door open. It was not empty anymore. There were people inside. They wore old clothes from the 1920s. A woman in a long white dress looked at me. A little boy with a toy train looked up. Their faces were very pale. Their eyes were empty and grey. They did not speak. They just stared at me. I ran to the next carriage. Every compartment was full of pale passengers. They sat quietly in the soft light. I reached the front of the train. I found the heavy metal door that led to the driver's cabin. I turned the handle and pushed it open. There was nobody inside the driver's cabin. The controls were moving by themselves. The firebox was full of burning red coal, but there was no engineer. I looked through the front glass window. My eyes became wide with terror. The metal bridge in front of us was broken. The tracks ended in the middle of the air. Below the broken bridge, the dark river was waiting. "Stop! Stop the train!" I screamed. I pulled a big red emergency brake lever on the wall. I pulled it with all my strength. The brakes screamed terribly. Sparks flew from the wheels. Screech! The train slowed down a little, but it did not stop. It was too fast. It was too heavy. The train reached the end of the broken tracks. For a moment everything was silent. The train flew through the night air under the giant moon. I saw the black water of the river coming closer and closer. I closed my eyes and screamed. Splash! Suddenly I opened my eyes. I gasped for air. I was sitting on a cold wooden bench. I looked around. There was a dim yellow lamp above me. There was a small wooden office in front of me. I was at the village train station. The sun was rising over the mountains. The sky was a beautiful light blue. The morning air was cold, but fresh. I looked down at my hands. I was holding my big blue suitcase. I checked my jacket pocket. My wallet was there. My phone was there. I turned on my phone. The screen lit up. The date on the screen was Friday, June 18th. The time was 7 o'clock in the morning. I stood up quickly. My legs were weak. I walked to the small office window. I pushed the door and it opened. A young woman sat behind the desk. She was typing on a modern computer. She looked up and smiled at me. "Good morning, sir. Can I help you?" "The old man," I stammered. "The old man in the uniform, where is he?" The woman looked confused. "An old man? I'm the only worker here, sir. I started my shift at 6 o'clock. "Did a train arrive at midnight?" I asked, my voice trembling. The woman laughed gently. "No, sir. There are no trains here at midnight. The last train leaves at 9 o'clock in the evening. The first morning train to the city arrives in 10 minutes. Do you want a ticket?" I stared at her. I could not speak. Was it all a nightmare? Did I sleep on the bench all night? "Yes," I said quietly. "One ticket to the city, please." She printed a white paper ticket and gave it to me. I walked out to the platform. 10 minutes later, a modern white train arrived. It was clean and fast. I climbed inside. The passengers were normal people. A man was reading a modern tablet. A teenager was listening to music on his headphones. I sat near the window. The train started to move smoothly. I looked out at the mountains and the deep valley. In the distance I saw the old metal bridge over the wide river. I took a deep breath and calmed down. "It was just a dream," I whispered. "A very long, vivid dream. I am a writer. My imagination is too strong." I put my hand inside my jacket pocket to get my headphones. My fingers touched something hard and metallic. My heart skipped a beat. I pulled my hand out slowly. In my hand, there was a small, old silver pocket watch. The hands of the watch were not moving. They were stuck at exactly 12 o'clock midnight. I looked out the window at the river below. I smiled a strange, small smile. I put the watch back into my pocket, opened my notebook, and began to write a new story.